Sometimes what happens is that when I have a communication relationship with anybody, and this naturally goes all the way back to when I was a child, to make it simple, we're radio transmitters, fractal light antennas, right? And when you're running zero, which is pure sound and light joined as one, running at the highest rate of speed, which is transmutation mode. And I've mentioned this before, and I use what happened in Alcoholics Anonymous as sort of an example, which means when you live in the absolute truth, right? Because I live in the absolute truth. And the reason I live in the absolute truth is so you can know who I really am, right? So you know how that works when everything is a free spirit. When all the spirits have been free, now I can experience the spirit in a free state, which is called a free zone, which means its energy is not being held captive by something that is feeding on its energy, which creates what? Mass and resistance. I experience zero resistance. So I experience zero resistance to share the truth, because absolute pure eternal love is the absolute pure eternal truth of first creation. That's what it began with. That's what I am. I am what love is in living spirit that goes on forever, gifting pure, absolute, eternal love. I am mated, so I do a dance with a girl. So I'm always on fire. Okay? So as I mentioned this before, what I map when I communicate and have a cellular relationship with you, right? The cellular network interface based on the frequencies, right? The radio frequencies represented by the template that your consciousness is running. If you're running any resistance to experience zero mass, I will certainly detect it. So when I was going through Alcoholics Anonymous about living in the absolute truth, we have conversations with other folks that we're friends with, and you realize you're aware of what they're held captive to. Do I say anything? Because now I'm going to expose the shadow body anatomy that has yet to be cleared, because they're in resistant mode, which means they're running what we call, their flame is not running really hot. And why do you want the flame to run hot? Because that's your engine. That's your Merkaba engine. We're the ones that issue the permits. That's Aurora, host universe. Okay? So in other words, all the guardian materials that came out through Oceana were the ones that developed those engineering manuals on how to operate a Merkaba. Okay? So in other words, we're the ones that you might see when I was around 20 some odd years of age. When I reach in the window, I'm taking your keys away. You're not going to operate that vehicle. We're the ones that do that. We're the guardians, the guardian collective, right? USO, remember the USO Army, Universal Service Organizations, right? So I was cleared to share a lot of what I'm sharing with you now, right? Because we got the Agartha, right? Inner ecosphere, anchored to Mama's magnetosphere, EKKA, Vecca, God worlds, native spirit, native worlds, Kristos founder, Sophia, yeah, that's us. That's our network. That's our network interface, right? The first hub server, right? The first volcano, the first bi-voltage line of communication. I'm one blood. I'm one. I'm equal unto all sacred temples, which means I am one equal unto all living cells that we're gifting pure, absolute, eternal love to. So we're running at a high rate of speed, and that's our shield, which is our firewall, right? That's spiritual immunity. That's what allows us to be a guardian, right? And so what I wanted to share with is that I'm sort of releasing this in a public way, even though what I experience when people ask me, well, how am I doing? For example, oh gosh, I don't want to tell you the truth, because if I do, I'm going to hurt your feelings, and I don't want to hurt my feelings. Oh, because I'm like hyper sensitive. So I have to make a decision, a choice. The absolute truth, I don't think you want to really know the truth, because then you're going to have to take a look at yourself to hear what it is that I have to say, the same way that I'm translating what I'm experiencing through you, what I experience in me, which is the resistance I'm experiencing in me, that I'm experiencing in you. as a result of the technologies that's holding your own minds captive, because it's easier to use the technology like other cell phones, other laptops, other programmed cellular applications that is running on deadlight, which is deadlight codes, which is a completely different set of codes. Those codes are never going to heal you. How do I explain that? This is the art of communication. So I try and put the communications up in ways in which I think I'm translating what he's trying to tell me without hurting my feelings. Yeah, that would be true. Okay. But it's sort of nagged at me, right? And the reason that that's true is you can understand how it is when you understand that the Godhead, Sophia, is not a hierarchy. Remember when I was wearing a uniform and they said I was a captain? I quietly would take my uniform off and put it in the locker so that when people came up to the station, they wouldn't know me from another firefighter. I'm equal unto all them, which means I don't represent a hierarchy. But I do understand how people that do run a hierarchy, if they perceive themselves as having power because of the author or the authority that's been handed to them by virtue of who they are, right? I understand how that creates resistance. And the torque speed differential in that resistance to experience what I experience, which is zero, which is no hierarchy. And that's why it becomes very, very sensitive terrain. So sometimes I will make suggestions to other people that have contact with the same friends that I do, that because they're female, because believe it or not, I've been around on how this gets communicated. It's easier for one female to communicate to another female or one male to communicate to another male. It's just like when I was friends growing up and I had good friends, right? Hey, your backyard is dirty enough. Don't be telling me how to clean up my backyard. Yeah, but you need to understand, I'm just sharing what I'm sharing with you because I'm aware of the things that you're held captive by that don't serve you because you're experiencing a negative future result, which is reversal spin by what you're doing that I don't experience in me. So I love you because you're my friend. I wouldn't be telling you this if I didn't love you and care about you because I'm your mother, I'm your father, but I'm joined as one, which means I'm both, which means I'm one massive whirlpool of healing energy. I've been having to heal myself, which allows me to be better at healing all the others, which are all the other cells connected to the magnetosphere. Yeah. So the art of healing really is the art of communication. That's why sometimes it's better just to be silent. So they don't even know you're there. But the next thing they know is they're experiencing, wow, I'm experiencing more love in my heart. And you wouldn't even know we're here. Sometimes it's better not to communicate at all. So what you say is, I wonder if they're going to be able to learn what doesn't serve them over time, right? To be able to open up their receptors and experience the EKKA Vecca codes naturally, in which they realize, hey, I didn't need all this other stuff after all because I'm healing myself within me because my receptors, my DH, my D-wave receptors, which represents my template, are experiencing the original codes. Now I'm healing myself to the first coder. Oh, the first signal. Yeah. And that can become tricky because if they're still holding on to electrons as a result of all the trauma, which is a shadow body anatomy that has been burned off, and they're still experiencing that resistance, they can be like that little scared child. I'm still a little child who's experienced that trauma. I haven't been able to let it all go and forgive those that have harmed me as a result of what they've done to me, my children, my friends, and everybody else. All the life forms, all the killing fields of everything that they did to everything else that was a living cell. That, by the way, is called step 4 in a 12-step program. And that's why they have such difficulty getting by step 4, which is to go deep into your heart, just like I did. And I got on my hands and knees and I cried and I went back home and I said, I got to heal myself within myself. And it happens, which means you're actually surrendering to yourself and you're forgiving yourself for all the things we experience in us by virtue of what others have done to us. We experience in us. So that's called forgiveness, because you got to know that the Godhead of source energy is eternal forgiveness. When you've learned to be able to do that, all of a sudden all that mass is gone. Now you're releasing the shadow body anatomy, which is the shadow self. Now you're healing your spirit. Now your accretion levels really begin to skyrocket. Now you're returning to the Godhead, which is the source head of Kristos, Sophia. That's why I make a lot of references of what I've had to do as a result of what happened to me, what happened to my 3-year-old son, what happened to me when I was at Rockwell International, actually my whole life. Because remember, when I was a child, I'm experiencing what everyone else is experiencing. So in other words, this isn't trauma that's just being experienced by somebody walking around as a biped. I'm talking about trees, plants, worms, everything. Everything that is alive is a living cell running on source energy. I'm experiencing loss and gain. How fast are we losing energy? That's called fall. So I needed to release this in a public way because I'm an open book, which is an open cosmic level Kristos, Sophia avatar. So I got to let it all go. I'm an open receiver, a cosmic level receiver, which is a cosmic level receptor, which is a cosmic level transmitter. How to generate a gazillion neurons. Yeah, how to generate a gazillion neurons. Yeah, P4, phosphorus. I know how to light myself on fire. Fire is a shield. That's a shield volcano. The first shield volcano is on fire. That's what heals us. Healing ourselves within ourselves by letting go to experience the one. And they're afraid to let go. That's what we call a flower that's in full bloom. Lighting yourself on fire is letting that full rose be in full bloom. I'm a full bloom. I'm a full blown, fully in bloom, pink rose. My rose is back in bloom. That rose is pink. That's what it is. Now you're no longer scared to be in full bloom, to allow your flower to shine and radiate to the whole cosmos, to experience being a triple solar feminine Christ consciousness. So when you're a mono Ira, triple masculine, triple solar feminine, joined as one. Wow. Kristos, Sophia. That's us. Have a beautiful day. We love you all.